Welcome back, friends. In this video, I want to show you something new that I've never done before, which is making an Acutrack screw. And an Acutrack screw is this type of screw where you have a continuously variable thread pitch to provide compression as you advance the screw across the fracture site. And you can see that the shaft of the screw actually flares out near the base of it here to also aid in providing compression because it is a headless bone screw. So I'm going to have to create a slot in the top for a hex bit, and then a cannula down through the center. So let's jump into ZBrush here and make this thing. So I've got a cylinder up in my workspace here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the shaft of the screw. So I'm going to lengthen this out to the size that I want it, which is about there, and maybe just a touch longer. And I'm going to come over here to my move menu, and I'm going to go to bend curve. And what it's going to allow me to do is to create a narrowing of the shaft of the screw throughout the diameter of it to here. And the next thing I want to do is I want to widen it out near the base. So I'm going to just fatten this one out just a little bit here so that that can provide that little bit of compression. And then let me drop back down here and maybe make these just a hair narrower. All right, that looks good. Okay, so that's going to be the shaft of our screw. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to make the threads of the screw. So I'm going to add in another cylinder here. And similarly, I'm going to lengthen that. So I'm going to get out of my bend curve, and I'm going to select that tool, lengthen it out to the length of the screw. And I want it to be just a little bit bigger. And one thing that I forgot to mention is in this Acutrack screw, notice that the threads are a consistent diameter across the whole screw. They don't taper the way the actual inner portion of the screw does. So we're just going to leave this cylinder its full width like this. And now we need to turn this into threads. And so the first thing I need to do is I need to remesh this, because if I were to go turn this into threads right away, if I come down here to my deformation menu, I'm going to twist these in the Y plane. It's not going to give me enough threads. So I need to create more vertical divisions here. So let's just see what happens if I just divide this geometry once, and let's just see how many threads that gives us. So let me come up back here to deformation. Let's twist this. All right, that looks like about the right number of threads. Maybe we should divide this one more time. Let's go back and look at this screw and see how many threads are there. You know, that's about right. And I do have to make a variable thread pitch at some point, so maybe I want to give myself a few extra threads. So let's just divide this here one more time. So I'm going to come into my geometry menu. I'm going to divide this one more time. I'm going to delete those lower orders, and let's go to back down to deformation, and let's twist this thing up again. All right, so probably too many threads here, but that'll give us a little bit of room to work. All right, so I'm just going to keep twisting this until we get some really nice deep threads, because I want to see the full shaft of the screw through those threads. So I need to keep twisting, keep twisting. All right, that looks pretty darn good. Okay, all right, so now that we've got that done, I'm going to come up here to my brush menu, and I'm going to just chop off the ends of this. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do trim rectangle, and click OK. All right, I'm going to hold Control Shift, and I'm just going to lop off the threads on the top and the bottom here, which we don't need. Okay, maybe one more thread I'll take off. And now I need to add some slant to these threads, because I want them to look like threads, because we didn't make real threads. These are full circumference. They're not spiraling up the way a real screw would, unfortunately. But we're only ever going to be looking at this in one plane, so as long as someone can't twist this, they won't realize that the threads aren't continuous. So that's okay. All right, so now I need to come over here to my move menu. I'm going to come up here to skew, and I'm just going to slant these up here a bit. Let's go see how they're really, what the angle of the slant is. They're not too slanted. Okay, so just a little bit. All right, that looks pretty good. And now I need to switch this over to my bend curve menu like we used before, and I need to change the spacing of these threads. So I need to compress the threads on the near the base of the screw here. I'm avoiding saying head of the screw because the whole point is that it is a headless bone screw, right? And then we need to space these ones further out as we come down here, okay? And so that's looking pretty good. I forgot to hold shift there. All right. All right, these ones actually need to be spaced out a bit more. So let's bring these down. All right, and then we need to bring this down more, and we're just gonna have to trim this one more time. All right, I think that looks pretty good. We might have a few too many threads on this screw, but let's just roll with it. All right, so let's come back here to our draw menu. Now let's just remove the excess here on either end of it. All right, that looks pretty good. Actually, let me just chop it there. All right. Now what I need to do is I need to add the cannula through the center of the screw. So first things first, let's just merge these up. So let's come down here to merge, and we will do merge visible. That will populate us up into this new tool. And now we need to merge the geometry here because it's still two separate objects, as you can see, right? So, so let me go to Dynamesh, and let me Dynamesh this, and let's just see how that looks. Let's just increase our resolution here of that remeshing to 200. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, so now what I need to do is I'm just gonna smooth this out a little bit. So I'm actually gonna decrease the size of this whole model here so I can smooth this out. Increase my brush size. All right, so let's just smooth this down a little ways here. And you know what I just realized is these threads up here are barely showing. So let's just jump back here and fix that. All right, there we go, that looks better. So now let's go ahead and add our cannula. So I'm gonna come up here to my subtool menu. I'm gonna add another cylinder here. And I'm going to take that cylinder and I'm going to make it narrower in diameter and lengthen it to the length of the screw. Okay, and let's just figure out how, what size do we want this here. So I'm gonna bring this a bit smaller. That looks pretty good. And now I need to turn on live Boolean here, and we will subtract that from our front shape. All right, so now we have a cannula through the center of our screw, and now I need to add the slot for the hex bit. So I'm gonna come up here to my cylinder CD 3D, and I'm coming down here to my initialize menu. I'm gonna change the horizontal divisions to 6, and you can see that that gives us this nice little hexagon shape. I wanna make this just a little bit longer, so I have some room to work with. And let's come back up here to our screw, and I'm going to add that. All right, so there's our hexagon, and now I need to move that hexagon up here to the top of the screw. Oops, I flipped over my model, and we need to make it a bit smaller. And we need to subtract that from our front geometry again, and then let's just figure out how deep in this thing we want this to go. About there, looks pretty good. All right, so now we've got both those subtracted, so let's come down here to our Boolean menu, and we will say make Boolean mesh 3D. All right, so let's go ahead and render this. I'm gonna go render, external render, key shot. We'll hit the render button, and it should pop up over here. I just need to unpause it. All right, so now we've got our screw here. Let's give it a metallic sheen to it. So I'll just put it as a stainless steel for now. All right, so I think that looks like a pretty good Acutrack screw. Oh yeah, and one thing I forgot to add here was the self-tapping drill bit tips. So let's come down here and let's just drag some of those out. So let's just pull this out here. I'm not really sure how they do these. I think they have 3 of them. Okay, so that looks roughly symmetric. No one's going to be looking at it as big as we're looking at it right now, so it doesn't really matter if it's perfect. So I'm just going to file down the edges of these here to make them a little bit sharper. All right, that looks pretty good. Just sharpen these up a little bit. I'm no drill expert here. I don't know why I got that little bump there. Let me just smooth that down. All right, good enough. I don't think anyone's going to scrutinize that drill bit tip too much. All right, so let's send that over to the renderer. We'll populate it in here, and voila, we have got a Acutrack screw. Probably a few too many threads here, but otherwise, I think this screw turned out pretty good. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me switch over here. Give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. If you have any suggestions, critiques, or other stuff you want to see, post that in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.